guys hear me? That's a little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So before you sit down, there's a deck of cards, or there was a deck of cards. There we go. Shuffle and pick one card. The good one? Ooh. All right. Hi, welcome. And as you come in, if you haven't already, there's a deck of cards in the middle. Go ahead and shuffle and grab. And we'll use that card after we open. It's your
She's all about like undoing patriarchal conditioning through Tantra and all about like worshiping the goddess and bringing it back into the body. And she's just really, really incredible. And she's here visiting from Southern California. So would love to see any of you all there. And that's it for me. Oh, and Lisa will be back on February 3rd and 10th.
February 3rd and 10th.
Yeah.
Good. So we're doing next month, it'll be 2 weeks in a row. All right, so welcome everyone. For those of you who I haven't met before, just a really quick overview of what you can expect in our class, in every class. So basically what I do is every month I have a theme that we work with, and then we work with that theme for the month. So we have 2 classes here. I also have 4 classes over at the Green Yogi. So if you want to get a full in-depth experience of 4 classes, then on the alternating Mondays that I'm not here, you can hop over to the Green Yogi and get the other part of this series. So this month we're working with what's known as the view of non-dual Tantra, and you're going to hear it in just a moment because the flow of the class is always exactly the same. We'll open with an invocation, which is essentially the view of non-dual Tantra, and then we'll presence ourselves in the circle. So that's where your cards will come in. And then I'll do a short teaching on whatever our practice is going to be for the evening. We'll do our practice, and then there'll be time for any questions or comments or ahas, all of that type of stuff. That's actually, I like to say I'm a practice forward teacher, meaning that I teach through practice. I give a little bit of teaching at the front, do the practice so that your questions are coming from your direct experience, and then the teachings become informed by whatever you're sharing or whatever your experience is. So that's how I prefer to teach. So with that, we'll go ahead and do our non-dual invocation. This will be it's usually about 10 minutes or so. So let me get that set up. Some of you might know this invocation really well. Others might be the first time hearing it. I'm going to say it first in Sanskrit, and then I'll say it again in English. And that's just so that you know what is being said in Sanskrit. So just taking a moment now to close your eyes and get settled. And sensing the surface underneath you. And all the different places where your body comes into contact with the surface underneath you. And allowing yourself for a moment to just feel that support. To feel the support of the ground underneath you. And gently allowing your awareness to move into the region of your heart. In that place, that space just behind your sternum, in the very center of your chest. And just noticing if you can sense into a deep and abiding stillness. It's a stillness that precedes all activity. It's a stillness that's ever present. So even if your attention is moving towards activities in the environment in the form of sounds, perhaps, or activities of the body, like the movement of your breath, or even subtle contractions or tensions, those are movements too. Or maybe movements of the mind in the form of thoughts. And just notice how you can ride the wave of movement to its end into deep, abiding stillness. And finding yourself in that stillness, movements can continue on their own, but you can remain in this stillness of the heart, this stillness which is the foundational ground of your being. And sensing or imagining that from the stillness of the heart emerges something like the most exquisite tendril of light that you've ever seen. It reaches up from the base of your heart through the very center of your body. And as it rises, it reaches to the inside of the crown of your head, where it blossoms open into 1,000-petaled lotus flower. Sensing or imagining this lotus flower now resting at the crown of your head. 1,000 petals made of translucent white light. Its bottom petals gently begin to turn downwards, capping your skull. And in the center of the lotus flower is something like a full moon, brilliant white. Its light is luminous, casting a cool light over the landscape of your body. In the center of the moon is a pair of sandals or slippers representing the feet of the wisdom masters, saints and sages, yogis and yoginis, all those awakened beings, past, present, and future, who've walked this path. You might even sense them gathering above us now, either in their white light bodies or just as points of light. And as you hear the non-dual invocation, sense or imagine that flowing from the feet of these awakened beings is a golden nectarian light that spills right through the very center of that lotus flower, through the crown of your head, down the stem of the lotus and into your heart, penetrating the very core of your being from the inside, and then radiating outward in all directions, like the rays of the sun, beyond the boundaries of your body, beyond the bounds of time and space. Atma Tvam Girija Mati Sahachara Prana Sharirangraham Pujate Vishayopa Bogarajana Nidra Samadhi Stiti Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Viti Stotrani Sarva Gira Yad Yat Kardma Karomi Tat Tadakilam Shambho Tavara Dinam Jaya Jaya Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho. You are myself, my core, my essence. The goddess is my mind, My pranas are your attendants. My body is your temple. And enjoying the objects of the senses is my worship of you. My sleep is your state of samadhi. Wherever I walk, I'm performing worship of you. All my words are hymns of praise to you, and all my actions are worship of you, O benevolent one. Om. And gently externalizing your awareness, sensing the surface underneath you, blinking your eyes open, coming into our practice space together. All right. So we'll presence ourselves in the circle. You all have a card. Do you have a card? Okay, perfect. Couldn't see over there. So what we'll do is take a look at your card right now. I'm assuming that you've already read it, but just so you know, your card has a word on the top, and underneath that word there are two interpretations of that word. And the top interpretation is when you're fully abiding in your true nature, how you'll experience that word or principle. The bottom interpretation is when you're not fully abiding in your true nature, how you'll experience that word or principle. And each of these cards, the word at the top is a word or a principle that has to do with this tradition of Tantric yoga. So it's a way to start to connect the puzzle pieces of the tradition together, but also to connect those pieces to what's alive for you in your life. So we'll go around the circle here. And actually, I had a hard time hearing last time, so I have a little microphone. I'll start over here. And just say your name, and for the card, pick or let us know what is the word at the top of your card, and then which of those two interpretations feels most alive for you right now. And I'll turn this on if I can. How do I turn this on, Chrissy? Maybe I would do. Oh, there it is. Hello. There we go. I got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim. My word is love. And the top definition is the perception and recognition that your true nature and the true nature of others is the same. The bottom one is the belief that love is a feeling and attachment to acquiring that feeling through your relationships with others. I do feel a lot more aligned with the bottom one. Love is a feeling and attachment to acquiring that feeling through relationships with others. The top one, I'm finding it hard to truly wrap my head around, that your true nature and the true nature of others is the same.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I have the card Wisdom, and I was delighted when I picked it and read it, because well, you'll see. Top verse or sentence is, your understanding of yourself and life comes from direct experience rather than intellectual knowledge. And then, of course, at the bottom, while you may have read a lot of books, attended seminars and courses, wisdom eludes you because it can't be gained through conceptual knowledge. And I live that all the time. Vacillate between both of those. There's a bit of a paradox there, and where I find myself in any given day or week or moment could be in either one of these. I like to think that when I am reading my books and attending seminars and courses, and I am wrapped up in my mind, that even though that may be the case, that there is some sort of merit being built up that's leading to that more heartfelt presence, but one day at a time.
Where do you land tonight, like right now in this?
It's funny. I've been in a pretty crappy place the past few days. I've certainly been sort of down at the bottom, and today some things happened. I'm hopefully shifting back into that more spiritual, authentic spiritual place.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think it's on.
Hello?
Yep.
You can call me AJ. And I got allowing. You neither resist or hold tightly to what is appearing in your life, understanding that the true you remains untouched and untainted by situations, circumstances, and experiences. And then the bottom is, you struggle to let things be as they are, thinking that by changing them, you will be happier. I think I kind of fall in the middle.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shreya. My word is concealing. Perceiving the true nature of all things and experiences despite outer appearances. And then the bottom is taking all things, all people, all experiences at face value, thereby missing what's being revealed beneath it all. I think I tend to try to find the depth of someone, or analyze the depth of things more than the face value, like what's kind of like in front of me. So sometimes I think that you kind of need a balance of the two. So I guess I'm more at the top right now, but I kind of feel like I want to sometimes be at the bottom, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Amy, my card is freedom and fulfillment. The top one says, you perceive your true nature as inherently whole and complete. You are free from the burden of relying on outer circumstances for happiness. And the bottom one says, you feel a nagging sense that something is missing, so you look for things outside yourself to fill what feels like an inescapable void. Certainly have occupied both of these. I think tonight I'm more on the bottom one.
Thank you.
You can call me Kayla. My card says misidentification. The top one is an ability to see beyond the limited constructs of the personality or ego and recognize when it's playing out in roles in yourself and others. And then the bottom one says identification with your stuff, body, mind, feelings, and experiences leading to constant seeking outside of yourself for fulfillment. I think in my life I flicker constantly between these two very rapidly, but in this moment I'm closer to the top one, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Chrissy, and my card is Samskaras. The top says, things that used to trigger you no longer do or have less of a grip on you because emotional imprints from past experiences have been healed. The bottom says, undigested emotions and emotional experiences held in your energy body still need to be healed. What a fabulous one. I would say right now I'm a little closer to the top, but a lot of times I feel in that bottom place for sure.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. My word is awaken. The top one is the immanent aspect of reality, all things that can be perceived through the five senses, experienced as a deep reverence for manifest reality as an expression of the divine. The bottom one is a disregard and disrespect for others, animals, nature, and the planet, whether subtle or blatant. I really don't identify with the bottom one, but that is not to say that I haven't had disregard many times, but I tend to, I would definitely say more toward the top.
Thanks. And I think that was Shakti, right? The word at the top.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christian, and I have body. And I'm sure that there are some cards where I would hover between the top and the bottom, but this is very top for me here. So the top is, you recognize that your self-worth isn't dependent on the shape, size, health of your body, and that your body is a vessel for divinity to experience life. And the bottom is, you believe that how your body looks is a reflection of who you are, perhaps spending money on changing your appearance to be more desirable.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Carlos. My card is orientation. You hold a clear view about the nature of life and reality. Your view is supported by time-proven teachings, which you put into practice in your daily life. The bottom is, you have a limited or unclear view of reality, and may even unconsciously hold conflicting views which cause confusion about why things happen as they do and why your practices seem to produce inconsistent results. And in the picture there's like a little like stone labyrinth that I just walked today. So like mainly the top, but every once in a while there's like a few hours of the bottom, or like a day or two, hopefully like not a week, but mainly the top.
Great. Thank you. And you can just turn off the microphone and just sit it right by you. That's perfect. Thank you. So thank you. And maybe you heard someone else's card that resonated with you as well. These are just some, I always like to say that that top interpretation on your card is a great sankalpa for your practice. If you don't have a sankalpa, if you don't have an intention for your practice, that's really important on the path to have an intention. So you can use your card, that top interpretation, as an intention. On the non-dual path, on this path, the top and the bottom, they're just two different experiences of one infinite divine consciousness. They're not good or bad. You're not trying to get more towards one than the other. Of course, the bottom one is you're gonna experience more suffering, but that doesn't mean that it's any less of a divine experience than the top interpretation that you read. So just to know, the purpose of these cards is not to evaluate and say, oh no, I'm in the bottom, I should be at the top. They're just two different experiences, which brings us to the practice that we're going to be doing today. So we've been working with the view, which is what you got, right? The directioned view, orientation. And the view of non-dual Tantra, sweeping view, is all that exists throughout all time and beyond is one infinite divine consciousness. And that one infinite divine consciousness, out of its own free will, contracts down into a vast multiplicity of loci, of subjects and objects, you and I. All right, so it contracts down out of its own free will. It puts these contractions. You had concealment, right? So concealing, the divine conceals itself in all these different ways. There's 5 primary ways that it conceals itself. But the beauty of concealment is that it creates diversity. Without the divine concealing aspects of itself, because it's one infinite divine, if it didn't conceal itself, then there wouldn't be diversity, there wouldn't be uniqueness. So a lot of times people think, oh, being contracted is bad. No, on the Tantric path, contraction isn't, again, it's not bad. It's just what the divine does in order to experience itself in, as, and through these bodies, these body minds that you and I are. So that's important to understand, that that's the view that we're working with in this class, and that our practices, the purpose of our practice is to recognize that view as the truth, not as a concept, right? Not because we've read about it or heard about it because we came to class, but because we've had a direct experience of it through consistent practice. So it takes practice to have these realizations, but with consistent practice, it's not only possible, it's probable. It'll probably happen if you're very consistent with practice, that you recognize your true nature. Now, one of the things that came up in the last class, was anybody here the last class? Nobody was here the last class. Okay. Well, one of the big things that came up in the last class was this discussion around that the goddess is our mind. The goddess is my mind. So that was one of the sentences that you heard when we opened class, is the goddess is my mind. You are myself, the goddess is my mind. What does that mean, that the goddess is my mind? Well, let's first look at what is, in general, our experience day in and day out, is that we have a lot of thoughts, right? And oftentimes it's a plethora of thoughts, but oftentimes thoughts are judgmental. They're thoughts of aversion, thoughts of attachment. And often what was coming up in our last class is that, especially around here and in the types of circles that we might see here, there can be some discussion that our thoughts should be other than what they are. Meaning, oh, God, I have these horrible thoughts about myself. I need to change those thoughts. I need to do something with the thoughts. Well, on the Tantric path, thoughts they could never define or describe who you really are. When we identify with our thoughts, that's when it becomes a problem. So our practice is not to change our thoughts, not to manipulate our thoughts, not to turn them into something else, but just to change the way that we relate to our thoughts. So what if you and I related to our thoughts as if they are the divine? How would that impact the way you move through life? How would that change the way that you show up for yourself? If you knew as a direct experience that every thought that you had is an expression of the divine, how would that change how you show up for yourself? How would that change how you show up for others? So our practice tonight is to hopefully get a taste of that, that all my thoughts are the divine. In this tradition, thoughts are Shakti. They are energy. So the tradition says that all that exists throughout all time and beyond is one infinite divine consciousness, right? And that infinite consciousness holds within it an infinite number of potentialities. Unmanifest potentialities are held within consciousness. Those potentialities, the very first movement that they take is into thought. A potentiality moves from consciousness and is experienced first as a thought. So that thought is an activity of consciousness. It is Shakti. It is the divine. Thoughts are energy. Energy is Shakti. So my thoughts, the goddess is my mind. In this tradition, by the way, mind means thoughts and emotions. In Buddhist tradition, I know that mind has a different meaning, more like consciousness. But here, mind is our thoughts. Okay, so that's the opening for our practice. So with that, let's go ahead and begin, and then we can have some recap after and see what emerges for everybody. So let's just begin by getting settled, closing your eyes, and taking a couple of long, slow breaths. And once again, sensing the surface underneath you and all the different places where your body comes into contact with the surface underneath you. And can you notice the absolute stillness of the ground beneath you? Now, gently bringing attention to the breath. And noticing where the breath goes as you breathe in, and where it goes as you breathe out. And just following the movement of the breath. And noticing how at the end of the movement of the exhale, there's stillness. And at the end of the movement of the inhale, there's stillness. Without changing the natural rhythm of the breath, just notice movement, stillness, movement, stillness. And sensing or imagining that you're literally riding the movement into the heart of stillness. The movement continues, but you finding yourself now in the depths of stillness. Your entire being permeated by stillness. It's as if you're completely merging with the stillness, becoming one with stillness. And sensing that this stillness is vast, no boundaries. You are a vast ocean of stillness. and sensing that you, as this vast ocean of infinite stillness, holds unmanifested possibilities connected to everything seen and unseen. Sensing your unity with all existence. Now noticing how thoughts and maybe feelings too seem to arise from within this vast ocean of stillness. It's sort of like the movement of waves on the surface of the ocean. These waves, these thought waves, changing in shape and size, in force. But they're always connected to, grounded in this ocean of unwavering stillness. The waves might be turbulent, they might just be gentle rolling waves. But notice how waves are never still. They inherently have motion. The basic nature of waves on the ocean's surface is that they change, constantly changing. Yet even while the waves move and change, the ocean never changes. It remains still. What is a wave other than a momentary or a temporary activity of the ocean? the same way thoughts are a momentary or a temporary activity of consciousness. Thoughts and feelings are the activity of consciousness, not separate from consciousness. The way the tradition might say it is that Shakti is the activity of Shiva. And just allowing yourself to experience whatever is arising as a thought or an emotion as an expression of that infinite ocean of consciousness. Each thought an activity of the divine. Maybe noticing that continuity between the stillness of the depths of the ocean and the movement of the waves at the surface. This is what's meant by the goddess is my mind. Consider the implications of this understanding. If every thought is an expression of the divine, if every thought is literally the goddess, then you're released from the burden of needing to change whatever is arising. because there's nothing inherently good or bad. It's just the divine. In the same way that thoughts are the activity of consciousness, thoughts are Shakti, so too are all manifestations the activity of consciousness. All manifestations are like waves on the surface of a vast ocean. If you ever want to know what God is thinking, all you need to do is look around. You are literally all the time engaging with the mind of the divine. And gently bringing your attention back to your breath. Feeling the movement of the breath emerge from stillness. Allowing your breath to be the bridge from this deep and abiding stillness back into our space together. And yet, as you emerge, just noticing if you can stay connected to that continuity of the depths of stillness and the activity at the surface. Always connected. Maybe inviting some movement into your fingers, your toes. And taking all the time you need to return back fully into our space. So the circle is open for any questions or comments or shares. And I will say, I think I said this last time, that the goddess wants to speak. She always likes to speak. So even if you feel like, oh, what I'm thinking doesn't really matter, if there's even a little bit of an urge, that's the goddess wanting us all to know something. She speaks through all of us because the goddess is my mind, right? Yeah, I'll have you take the microphone too so we can hear. I think if you click it up or down.
Hello?
Yep. Okay. Perfect.
I think sometimes I hear the word stillness, and I think it doesn't feel like stillness because it's so, it's got a vibrancy to it. So I just wonder, I'm always like, I struggle with the word stillness for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, in the tradition, Shiva consciousness is still, but it's not an inert stillness. It's not a dead stillness. It's a stillness that's teeming with potentiality. It's spanda. It's known as spanda or vibration. So inherent within the stillness is a subtle vibration too. Is that what you're speaking to?
I think so. It just feels like much more energetic than just,
Mm-hmm.
like a calm pond, or, I always imagine stillness being like a Zen pond or something, Instead it feels more like it's bursting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's...
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
There's this boundless.
You use the microphone too.
There's this boundless quality to embracing all of the thoughts as they come in, and it's like, oh, like all parts of you are like so beautiful and welcome, no matter what they are. And I guess one of the challenges is like when sometimes things are maybe like not rooted in like reality and or like maybe delusional. It's like, well, what about those thoughts? Like that's not real or rooted in fact. And so like that's a place of exploration for me. It's like, well,
Yeah. I was waiting for that. Thank you, Goddess, for bringing it. I was waiting for that one to come. So this is a very common question. Almost everybody has some version of what you just shared, which is, well, yeah, but some of they're all beautiful thoughts, and some of them, what if they're delusional or just like not based in fact, or they're just mean, downright mean? So what we have to understand from the tradition is that all thoughts are the divine, but not all thoughts are pure thoughts. And when I say pure, I don't mean good or bad. I mean rooted in truth, or versus not rooted in truth. So impure thoughts would be thoughts that are not rooted in truth. And what is truth? Then we have to ask, what is truth? Well, in this tradition, truth is anything that's true for everybody all the time under all circumstances. That cuts down the truth quite a bit to about one thing. Maybe more than one, but I think about one thing, which is awareness. That's all that's true, is aware. That's what we experience. We are aware. There's awareness. So yes, we have all these thoughts. All these thoughts are the divine, but not all thoughts are pure thoughts, because they are, what happens in the cosmology of Tantra is that consciousness conceals itself with what's known as anavamala. Anavamala is an impurity of thinking that I'm not whole, I'm not complete. And then another mala, another impurity comes right after that, which is because I sense that I'm not whole and complete. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like something is missing. That triggers another impurity, which is therefore I'm separate. Therefore I'm an individual. And impure thoughts arise from this case of mistaken identity, this misunderstanding of who I really am. So thoughts of delusion, thoughts that aren't true, or what we might call like scary thoughts or not so good thoughts, those are arising from a concealed expression of the divine versus a revealed expression of the divine. So we do practice all of these different types of practices in order to purify our thoughts. And when I say purify our thoughts, again, I don't mean make them less sinful or anything like that, because there aren't good thoughts or bad thoughts. There's just some thoughts are closer to the truth and more accurate, and others are further from the truth and less accurate. So in the Tantric tradition, we use pure thoughts or thoughts that are more true to be like the thorn that picks out impure thoughts. So the non-dual invocation that we do at the beginning of this class, or what we might know as the view, were written by awakened masters, these words. And so they are thoughts that are more true than what you and I might think day in and day out. So we repeat, you are myself, my core, my essence. The goddess is my mind, and my pranas are your attendant. My body is your temple. We repeat these over and over and over again so that we begin to gradually purify our impure thoughts. My body's a piece of shit, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm wrinkly, versus my body is a temple. The goddess is my mind versus, God, why can't I get rid of that thought? Like, it's driving me nuts, So, that's a long answer to your question, but I took some time with that because it's a very, very important observation that you had that opens a big, a lot to consider in this teaching. So thank you.
Kind of hard. Yeah, thanks, Lisa. That was so great. I feel like I went really deep in, and I don't feel like I have any like profound things, but because you said, the goddess wants to speak, I was thinking like, it's just so interesting when I feel like I am tapped into more of that ground, kind of like more towards the bottom of the ocean than kind of with the waves, and you can kind of look up at the waves or sort of observe them more. It's like, kind of when I was in there, it felt like things are so wide, and I think sometimes when I'm really stuck in my thoughts, it feels like they're stuck in a head, like they're just kind of bouncing around in there, and there's not like that kind of flow or a space of a lot of like movement. I don't really know how to describe that outside of my own head, but that was really what I was feeling, was almost like this like being able to have a little more space from the thoughts and having them have that room. It's like they take on a very different kind of like tone and character than when they feel like stuck in a discrete head that is me or whatever. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to share that, but that it felt very relieving. And then of course here I'm back humaning, and it's like funny to feel a little bit of the like coming back into. It's like, again, not bad or good, but it's just like, it does feel like there is that like expansion and contraction aspect.
Yeah, and it's great because then you have a practice. Once you have these practices, they're like a map. You can just go right back there. Okay, now all I need to do is take 5 minutes, sit, go into that ocean and feel the way, and allow there to be the spaciousness there. So Thank you. Oh. Yep,
Okay.
that
Okay.
was it.
I guess for me it was interesting because I think during my day to day, I have certain thoughts that continuously maybe come up, but I just kind of push them away because there are other things to maybe focus on that I think are more important. And so this was like a space to be able to, I guess, like kind of taking that whole like the thought, actually like listening to the thought a little bit more and feeling what I was feeling in my body with the thought. And then I started to just like, my tears just started to like flow a little bit, which was, I mean, I cry a lot. So it's like, that's just normal for me when I'm doing breath work or anything, I'll just start crying. So, but it was interesting to just like, let that happen. And it, I guess like with like the ocean, it like felt like my emotions were just kind of going through me a little bit. Which was really interesting because it felt very like spacious kind of too. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's great. And thank you for sharing that. And also you mentioned something that's so important in this practice is in the same way the ocean doesn't try to get rid of the waves. The ocean does not try to suppress a wave and put it, okay, wait a minute. You're not going to wave right now. You're going to stay over there. The ocean doesn't do that, you know? So in the same way, we can have that attitude towards thoughts. Every thought, every emotion that is arising because it wants to be seen, it wants to be heard, it wants to be experienced. Otherwise, it wouldn't be arising. Even if it's an annoying, repetitive thought that's over and over again, what is the nature of my relationship to it? If I allow it to be seen in the fullness of it, allow it to be experienced, the whatever emotion is coming from that, you will find because a thought is impermanent, it's like a wave, it's an activity. All activity will always find its way into stillness, into silence. So if we just let it be there, do what it wants to do, it'll subside. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really beautiful.
There was a lot more physical discomfort than usual when I sit, and I think the practice helped with this sense that the discomfort belonged to the universe or something larger than myself, so it kind of came and went in an interesting way. But after coming out of it, I can't help but wonder how the tradition sort of perceives physical suffering in general. Like, I was just moderately uncomfortable in my sitting, but I think about folks who are suffering from illness and like more intense physical suffering, and I'm just curious to hear the tradition's sort of approach to that.
Yeah, it's all about the nature of our relationship to our experience. Everything in the tradition is about relationship. It's all relationship. What is the nature of my relationship to fill in the blank? To my thoughts? What is the relationship of the nature of my relationship to the pain I'm experiencing in my body? What is the nature of my relationship to this experience that I just had in the office with a coworker that flipped their lid? You know what I mean? Like, so it's all just about exploring the nature of relationship. How do I relate to this experience? And it's the way in which we relate to our experience that causes suffering. We can't, I think the Buddha said it really well, like you can't, there's the two arrows that you experience in life, pain and suffering. I'm sort of probably saying this totally wrong, but one you can, take care of and the other you can't. You can't take care of pain. You stub your toe or you bang your head on, something, and it's like, oh, there's pain there. That just is pain. That's going to happen. But the suffering comes from, how do I relate to that pain that I'm experiencing? That is, the way in which we relate to our experiences, the tradition says, is in proportion to how connected I am to my true nature, or how much I'm abiding in my true nature. The more I abide in my true nature, the less suffering I'll experience, or the quicker the suffering will come and go. If I'm abiding in my true, I might still suffer, but that was only an hour long instead of a week long or a month long of suffering. I don't know if that sort of explains, but yeah. Thank you.
Lisa, I didn't originally plan to be here, and I've got someone waiting for me to take a look.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Inviting
of
you
course.
until the next episode. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for coming. Thank you for saying. Yeah. Beautiful. So, before we wrap up, we're meeting again. Next meeting time will be February 3rd, 3rd and 10th. So we're going to do 2 Tuesdays in a row, which will be great. Between now and then, you can come practice with me at the Green Yogi on Mondays at 7:30. And the other thing is that I wanted to invite you all to a musical event that we're having at our house this weekend. It's called Saraswati Puja. We have classical Indian music, and it's free. And there's some amazing artists that are going to be playing music from 8 to midnight, and I live right down the street here in Oakland. If you're interested, I can give you, you can take a screenshot of all the info for it. I have it on my computer here. And that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for practicing with me tonight, and I hope to see you all again. Take care. Namaste. Enjoy the beautiful weather we've been having.